What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video where we're going to be trying to get some myth gloves on a pure. So this is going to be something most of you pures out there are going to want to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it efficiently and easy. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Alright, so let's take a brief look of why we're going to be getting these Mithril gloves versus just using a simple combat bracelet. After a little clickety-clack, bam! Photoshop magic, guys. And as we can see, the biggest difference between the two now are going to be the price. And that is my big driving factor behind getting these gloves, because I don't claim to be a good PKer, and I'm not a good PKer, so if I die, I don't want to lose 12k every time upon all my other items. But as we can see, the difference between the stats is very minimal. We do get a little bit better attack stats off the combat bracelet, so if that is something you're really after, I would recommend still going with the combat bracelet. But for me, it's not that big of a difference. And with the Mithril gloves, we're also actually getting better defense as well. So let's jump right in on what stats we're going to need to be able to get these gloves and how we're going to do it efficiently. Alright, now for the requirements. First, we're going to look at the skills that we need, and that is going to be 30 crafting, 41 cooking, 30 range, 25 thieving, 20 firemaking, 10 fishing, and 5 fletching. But that's not all we need, so on the quest side we're going to need to do Cook's Assistant, Goblin Diplomacy, Gertrude's Cat, the Golem, Shadow of the Storm, Fishing Contest, and Big Chompy Bird Hunt. Alright, so that might seem like a lot to do, but don't worry guys, I got a trick for you and to show you how to do this efficiently. Alright, for the sake of the video, I'm going to assume that everybody has level 1 skills and maybe just pure combat stats. So in that case, I'm going to show you the most efficient order of doing quests, and the first quest that we're going to do is Cook's Assistant, which requires nothing on the skill requirements side, but just a bucket of milk, egg, and pot of flour. And now the second quest we're jumping right into is Goblin Diplomacy. Again, no skill requirements, and the only items that you're going to need are goblin mail, blue dye, and an orange dye. Alright, so the third quest on our list is going to be Gertrude's Cat. Again, we're going to have no requirements here, but a few items that we're going to need are a bucket of milk, 100 coins, and 1 seasoned sardine. And it is a good point to note that at this point you're going to want to start growing your kitten into a cat. So keep a few sardines on you and then make sure to interact with your cat every couple of, I would say every about 15 minutes or so, just because we're going to need that cat later on. Alright, so after getting your kitten, it's time to head back to Lumbridge Castle, and now we're going to be starting the recipe for disaster. So the requirements for this are actually going to be 10 cooking, and then we're going to need a few items, which are an Eye of Newt, Greenman's Ale, a Dirty Blast, 1 pineapple, 1 orange, and 1 lemon. Be prepared for a very long cutscene after you complete this. I think the runtime on it is about 3 minutes and 25 seconds, but afterwards you're going to want to talk to the Goblin Generals because they're next on our list and we need to free them. Alright, so now that we've talked to the generals, we know how we're going to need to save them. So we'll head back over to Goblin Village, and we will need to have a few items in our inventory. So those items are going to be bread, orange, knife. The dye now we can talk about, that either can be blue, green, or purple. You only need one, so it's your choosing on that. And then you'll need a spice, fishing bait, bucket of water, and a charcoal. And then once you've completed this, you'll get 1k experience in cooking, farming, and crafting. And you will also gain access to the Colomancer's chest, but we will not have access to the items that we're after just yet, and we will have a little bit more work to do ahead of us here. So we'll just continue right along right after this. Alright, so we've saved the Goblin Generals, and now we have to actually, unfortunately, skill a little bit before we can continue. So, right now your stats should be level 13 cooking, level 10 crafting, level 1 thieving. To continue, we're actually going to need to get level 30 crafting and level 25 thieving. So, let's discuss how we're going to do that quickly and actually turn a little bit of a profit as well. Alright, so first for the crafting experience, this is probably going to be the easier of the two. All you're going to need to do is actually make 811 bowstrings, and you'll actually profit 133k from doing this. And then next for the thieving experience, I'd recommend just thieving men and women to level 5, then heading off to Ardone and actually thieving from the cake stall until you reach your goal of 25. This shouldn't take too long. There's some safe spots out there for thieving from the stall, so I would say maybe a couple hours and you should have the goal skills that we need to continue. So now that after you have those skills, we're going to continue right on. Alright, so now that you've gotten some of your skilling out of the way, it's time to do Demon Slayer. So the requirements for this quest are none, and then the items that you're going to need are a bucket of water, 25 bones that are unnoted, 1 gold coin, but the item that we're really after is the silver light. So after you complete that, we will actually jump in and start doing the Golem. Alright, so for the next quest is the Golem, and for that we're going to need 20 crafting and 25 thieving. As for the items, we'll need a vial, a pestle and mortar, papyrus, and 4 soft clay, but the reward from this is going to be 1k thieving and crafting experience. Following right after doing that, we will jump right into Shadow of the Storm. So this one's going to actually require 30 crafting. And then the items that you're going to need are a silver light, which you got from Demon Slayer, a strange implement, which you should have gotten from the Golem quest, and then you will need a black outfit. Now I recommend buying the black desert robes. I think they're about 3k from the GE, and it just saves you a little bit of time. And then the last item you'll need is a silver bar. The reward from this one's actually kind of decent, I would say. You do get 10k strength experience, so that is nice. Alright, so now comes one of the more tedious tasks in the recipe for disaster, and that is to free Evil Dave. Now, make sure that you've gone to Lumbridge and actually talked and started the quest at the dinner table to free Evil Dave. And then the requirements for this are going to be to make sure that you've done all the quests prior to this one. Items, I would recommend a full-grown cat, just because it makes this quest so much more easy, guys. But the reward off of it is a 7k cooking experience, and then you should be level 31 if you've started from level 1 with this guide. One little note and tip for this quest is to basically work on one spice at a time. Find out what color and how many amounts in that stew that you're going to need, then just write it down. Make sure you write it down, guys, because I've done that before where I'm like, I'll just remember this, and I don't. But by doing it that way, you can actually complete this quest, usually typically in under an hour or so. So good luck with it, and then we will jump right into saving Pirate Pete. Alright, I have to say that freeing Pirate Pete is probably the most fun of the RFD quests, but you will need 31 cooking, a raw cod, a pestle and mortar, bread, knife, a fishbowl, which I recommend just buying at the GE, a needle, and 3 bronze wire. Now you get 1k cooking, crafting, fishing, and smithing experience from this quest. After that, you will gain more access to the Colomancer's chest like you did with freeing Evil Dave, but we still won't be able to buy those Mithril gloves just yet, so we'll have to continue on. Alright, so the next quest up is the fishing contest. You will need 10 fishing, so if you've been following along with this guide, I think you'll be at level 9, so you'll actually need to go get 154 fishing experience. I'd say just go get a net and then do a little bit of net fishing, should get you there really quick. And then as for items, you're going to need 5 coins, a fishing pass, garlic, fishing rod, 3 red vine worms, and a spade. Now the spade's only needed if you need to go get the worms, which is right next to the area to complete the quest. But after you've completed it, you'll get 2,437 fishing experience, which should bring you up to level 18. Alright, so now that we've finished the fishing contest, now we can free the dwarf, which will require 30 cooking and the fishing contest completed. Now you only need 320 coins, a bucket of milk, a pot of flour, an egg, a bowl of water, 4 Asgardian ales, and gloves of any kind. Now the reward from this is 1,000 cooking experience, which should bring you up to level 32 and more access to the Colomancer's chest, but we only need to free one more person before we get those sweet Mithril gloves. So before we can continue any further, unfortunately we need to do a slight bit of skilling, and you'll need 388 fletching experience. What I would recommend is buying a few logs from the GE and just using your knife and making some arrow shafts. Shouldn't take too long, maybe 5-10 minutes at the most. And now you can see why we needed to get that fletching experience to complete Big Chompy Bird Hunt. You will need 30 cooking, 5 fletching, and 30 range for this quest, and a bit of items. So you'll need an axe, feathers, knife, chisel, bones, actually wolf bones, they have to be specific, a cabbage, tomato, onion, potato, equa, and dugal leaves. The reward is something lackluster off of this quest. It's only 262 fletching experience, 1470 cooking, and 735 range experience. But right after this, we do have to go back to skilling one last time, guys. Alright, I promise this is the third and last skilling part that we need to do, but we do need to get to 41 cooking and 20 firemaking. Now, if you've been following along, that's only going to need to be 22,859 cooking experience and 4,470 firemaking, and that equals to about 254 cooked salmon and 110 regular logs burned. I would recommend actually just buying raw salmon from the GE. I believe it's fairly cheap to do, and it should get you the experience that you need fairly fast, and you can actually have a little bit of food afterwards if you need to do any kind of training or anything like that. So it does work out a little bit both ways of beneficial. And then the fire making, you're going to burn those logs off. That might be a little bit more expensive than the salmon, but I say it's really worth it. Alright, so now that you've gotten those requirements, it's time to free Skratch the Ogre. And again, those requirements were 41 cooking and 20 firemaking. Now the items that you will need are an axe, a raw chompy, an iron spit, log, tinderbox, pickaxe, ogre bellows, ball of wool, and an ogre bow. The reward from this quest is the 1500 cooking, woodcutting, range, and crafting experience, and the final access to the Colomancer's chest to get the lovely Mithril gloves. Alright, so there you guys go. That is how to get Mithril gloves the easiest possible way and the most efficient way. Now I would say if you already had the skills, you can shave a lot of time off, but most of the pures out there probably only are working on their melee stats or range or mage, so it can be a little bit difficult to have to worry about how you're going to complete that quest. But anyways, guys, that's it for this guide. Please let me know if you'd like to see something else in the future. I'd be happy to do it, and as always, take care.